In 1944, at a small town in New Hampshire called Bretton Woods, 44 nations made a decision that would reshape global finance for the next 75 years. And almost none of them understood what they were actually agreeing to. The story begins at the end of World War II. Britain had been the dominant financial power for over a century, but the war had drained its treasury completely. The United States, by contrast, had emerged from the conflict with something no other nation possessed: 70% of the world's gold reserves. The British pound, once the global currency, was finished. Someone had to take its place. And that someone was waiting. Here's where the narrative most people believe breaks down completely. Most assume the dollar became dominant because America was simply the strongest economy. But that's not what the historical record shows. According to economist Benn Steil's comprehensive account, documented in his 2013 work The Battle of Bretton Woods, the dollar's ascendancy was engineered through a specific mechanism. American negotiators, led by Treasury official Harry Dexter White, didn't just propose a new system. They proposed one in which only the dollar could be converted directly into gold at a fixed price of $35 per ounce. Every other currency would float against the dollar. The dollar, in other words, became the reserve currency not through market forces, but through institutional design. This mechanism worked like a financial anchor. If you were a central bank in France, or Japan, or Canada, you needed to hold dollars to conduct international trade. You couldn't hold pounds anymore. You couldn't hold gold directly in most cases. You held dollars. And the more nations that needed dollars for trade, the more America could print without consequence. The dollar had become a form of structural power. When you control the medium of exchange, you control the flow of resources across borders. You control interest rates. You control who gets credit and who doesn't. This wasn't luck. This was architecture. Fast forward to today. That mechanism hasn't disappeared. It's evolved. BlackRock and Vanguard, the world's largest asset managers, hold trillions in dollar-denominated assets. The Federal Reserve still sets the global benchmark for interest rates. SWIFT, the international payment system, runs on dollar rails. Every all transaction between nations happens in dollars. Every major commodity. The system Bretton Woods created continues, just with different operators and newer technology. The dollar didn't take over the world because it was inherently superior. It took over because, in 1944, one nation had the leverage to rewrite the rules of global finance. And the world, exhausted from war, had little choice but to accept. In our next investigation, we'll examine how that same leverage is being challenged today, and what happens when a currency loses its monopoly on power.